evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is 6:02 on October 26, 2021. Opening statement.
This meeting is being held in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice has been provided by transmitting the resolution of annual meetings to the Asbury Park Press, the Star Ledger, and the Tri-Town News, by posting it on the bulletin board reserved for such announcements in the Township Municipal Building, and by filing it with the municipal clerk on January 8, 2021. The agenda is complete to the extent known, and formal action will be taken.
At this time, I'd like to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance and honor all of our fallen soldiers. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilman Bonovich.
Present.
Councilwoman O'Donnell.
Here.
Councilwoman Richmond. Deputy Mayor Russo.
Here.
Mayor Berger.
Present. Is there a reason for us to go into executive session this evening?
Yes, Mayor, we have a number of items to discuss that'll be classified under litigation.
May I have a motion to go into executive?
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
I'll second.
Moved by Councilwoman O'Donnell, seconded by Councilman Bonovich. Councilman Bonovich.
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell.
Yes?
Deputy Mayor Russo.
Yes.
And Mayor Berger.
Yes.
And let me just read the resolution into the record. Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell is authorized pursuant to NJSA 10:4-2 to exclude the public from that portion of this meeting for purposes of discussing specific matters as permitted. Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell intends to discuss certain matters which are deemed confidential pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 in executive session. Whereas at this time, the governing body of the Township of Howell cannot determine the time when the discussion to be held in executive session will be made public, but will disclose the minutes of the executive session when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Now therefore be resolved by the governing body of the Township of Howell that this meeting shall be adjourned to an executive session, and the public will be excluded in order that the governing body of the Township of Howell may discuss the items as allowed pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12.
Just very quickly for the record, the reasons for it's litigation involving Pineview Estates, past and threatened litigation involving Elon, and litigation involving Congregation Colel.
And this meeting is officially closed to the public.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to call the council meeting to order. It is 7:11. Sorry for a little bit of a delay. It is October 26, 2021. We had executive at 6 and regular session now beginning at 7:11. May we have call the meeting to order, please?
This meeting is being held in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice has been provided by transmitting the resolution of annual meetings to the Asbury Park Press, the Star Ledger, and the Tri-Town News, by posting it on the bulletin board reserved for such announcements in the Township Municipal Building, and by filing it with the municipal clerk on January 8, 2021. The agenda is complete to the extent known, and formal action will be taken.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to stand, say the Pledge of Allegiance, and a moment of silence for all of our fallen heroes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Harris, roll call, please.
Councilman Bonovich.
Present.
Councilwoman O'Donnell.
Here.
Councilwoman Richmond. Deputy Mayor Russo.
Here.
Mayor Berger.
Present. May I have a motion to accept the minutes of September 28th, 2021?
I'll make a motion to accept the regular meeting minutes of September 12th.
I'll second that.
Are they September 12th or September 28th?
12th.
Isn't it both? I have the 28th on the, here, and then on the second line, it says the 12th.
It should be the 28th.
The 28th. So may I have a
So I
motion?
amend my motion to September 28th.
May I have a second?
Second.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Russo, seconded by Councilman Bonovich. Councilman Bonovich?
I wasn't here. You weren't there. You were there.
absent that day, the 20th as well?
You were here on the 28th.
Okay. Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Russo?
Yes.
And Mayor Berger.
I believe I have to abstain.
And the minutes have been approved.
I was not at the meeting. Okay, at this time, I would like to do report of officials. So there's a couple of things going on. I have a list. Actually, today, I received this in the mail for the Girl Scouts. So there were 2 Girl Scouts that received the 2021 Silver Award, and that is Lauren Dong and Virginia Folks. And Lauren received it for mask awareness, and Virginia received it for raising heartworm awareness. Like, that was a tongue twister. So congratulations, ladies, on receiving that. Just remember that it's early voting at this time, so the 23rd to the 31st is for early voting. I actually went, and it was a great experience with your license. It just came up electronically. It was really nice. So if you haven't, if you want to, you're not going to be around, please don't forget to vote. Also, on Sunday, I think we have trunk or treat, right?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yes.
And that's from 6 to 8 by Escape. Sorry, it said Sunday. Oh, Sunday is Halloween. I write myself notes. Curfew is 10 o'clock, is that true? On
Yes, ma'am.
Halloween?
Yes.
And I want to say thank you to the Fire Bureau and all the fire departments for fire safety this month. And I believe there's leaf collection also in November 8th, is that correct?
I'm sorry, Mayor? What-
Leaf collection, November 8th?
Yes.
Okay.
Begins that.
Okay. So that's what I had, so. Councilman Bonovich?
I basically had the same, pretty much the same thing, Mayor. Election day is 1 week away from today, but I could add to that, the early voting. Early voting in Howell, the polling location in Howell is the Adelphia Firehouse. So if anyone wants to go out early vote within the township, you can go to the Adelphia Firehouse, and if you're in and about around, within the county, and you're in another township, and you do want to still early vote, you could go to monmouthcountyvotes.com, and they'll tell you where you could go wherever abouts in the county. If you're in Red Bank or Belmar, just go to monmouthcountyvotes.com. And then as far as the leaf collection, I had that as well. And it starts November 8th, and the last go-around is December 6th, so they say to have everything out. And that's leaves only, not brush, before December 5th. That's all I have.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. Just on the early voting, the literature out there says Adelphia Firehouse, and I think it's Route 33, it says on there. That's incorrect. The Adelphia
Oh,
Firehouse
it
is
is on
not on
33.
Route 30.
No,
The
524.
Adelphia Firehouse, number 2,
Number 2, and it's
33.
not on,
located on Highway
33.
33.
it is 33.
Yes.
Correct.
Oh,
Okay, then my mistake.
catch.
Because I know there was a resident at the last meeting who stated that the information was incorrect. Just wanted to make sure that was correct. That was correct, sorry. 2 events over the weekend. Adelphia Firehouse had their rib event. It was great, well-attended. They sold out. Went to charity, awesome event. The Optimist Club, Councilman O'Donnell and I went to a car show, another great fundraiser, well-attended. I want to thank them for that. Thank all of our clubs for continuing to work through the pandemic and raise money for great causes, so thank you.
Councilwoman?
Yes, thank you. In terms of the car show, it was the Howell Farmingdale Car Show with the Optimist Club also joining in with Farmingdale Borough. It was over 160 cars, an excellent event, and they intend to have it again next October. I believe they set the date for October 22nd, if I'm not mistaken. Being last cuts down on my list of things to say. However, there is correspondence that I gave to our clerk that I asked him to read from a resident that wished to express her sincere thanks.
Mr. Geegan?
Okay, Mayor, I have a few items. As far as paving schedule, our contractor is scheduled to mill and repave portion of Birdsall Road from Squonkam Road intersection to just east of Cruise Farm Golf Course, starting next Thursday, November 4th. That work will last 4 to 5 days. Traffic will be detoured to Belmar Boulevard and Hurley Pond Road from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Maxim Southern Road is scheduled to be repaved from Locust Ave to Talcott Road starting next Tuesday, November 2nd. Work will last for about 3 days. Traffic will be detoured to Locust Ave, Lanes Pond Road, and Oak Glen Roads. And then also, as a reminder, the bridge on Lanes Pond Road will be closed. There was a few daytime closures recently. It will be closed 24 hours a day, starting around November 1st.
Thank you.
And then on the DPW side, they started the road striping contract. They are working with CME. They're awaiting a proposal for the hazardous tree inventory. The Clean Communities volunteers have done a total of 5 cleanups. And what else was there? They just recently installed 36 signs provided by Monmouth County for Smoke-Free Air Act park signs. So that was completed. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Clark?
Nothing for me at this time.
Matt?
We received over 700 responses to the survey for the circulation element. I am closing that tomorrow morning when I come in, so this is the last chance. If anyone hasn't done it, make sure to go onto the township website. It takes about 3 minutes. And then from there, we're going to take a look at the results, analyze it, send it off to our planner, and have those results considered when looking at the plan.
Thank you. Mr. Harris?
Mayor, I have a communication here from a resident, Kathy McKee, that asks that this be read into the record for your behalf. We wish to thank the Howell Police paramedics who responded to a 911 call on the morning of August 26, 2021. My husband, Jack McKee, awakened in distress with severe pain in the right side of his chest and difficulty breathing. I called 911 and the operator quickly forwarded the information to the Howell Police paramedics. They arrived in our driveway within a very short time. The paramedics assessed the situation and administered oxygen. They were very professional and efficient, as well as being friendly and courteous. Jack was transferred to an ambulance and taken to Jersey Shore University Medical Center. The paramedics forwarded vital information to the JSUMC emergency room, and immediately upon Jack's arrival, a pulmonologist inserted a chest tube into his chest to reinflate the collapsed right lung. After 15 days in the hospital and 3 interventional procedures performed by a thoracic surgeon, Jack was discharged to home and is now doing very well. She expresses her thanks to the Howell Police paramedics for all of their assistance in her husband's distress.
Excellent. Thank you for reading that. At this time, I would like to open the floor to hear from our citizens on the public agenda. Dr. Stephen Friedman. Hello.
Steve Friedman from, my address I have to give and all that stuff. 42 East Shenandoah Road, Ramtown section of Howell. I've been a resident here since 2001. I've been a business owner here in town since 2013 and been an active member of the Howell Chamber of Commerce since 2016. I'm also representing the Chamber of Commerce here tonight as the first vice president and an active member of the Business Expo team that we've been working for the past several months, trying to get things going again here in Howell from a small business standpoint. The event we're having is on November 10th from 4 to 8 p.m. in the old Bed Bath & Beyond space. You got the flyer right there. So it's only 15 days away. We're getting the word out to everyone. Right now, at this time, we have 53 vendors that are signed up, ready to go. We're expecting another 10 at this point that we know of that are just waiting to get those checks in. Also, with the event, we're using it as a way to promote employment in town and have our residents find employment in town. So there'll be a job fair. There's about 20 to 25 of the vendors will be accepting applications and advertising they have positions available. Sponsors of the event, of course, include Howell Township. We do thank you guys for the support that you've provided us via signage as well as using Channel 77 here to broadcast out to the residents, as well as a monetary donation for the support. Also, Central State Health System, law firm of Davison, Eastman, Munez, Payon, ProCare Rehabilitation, Certified Auto Mall, Manasquan Bank, Coastal Financial Advisors, State Farm, Ryan Solonia, Little Head Marketing, and Mural Law. If anybody needs further information, you can find that on the Howell Chamber website, which is www.howellchamber.com. We also like to thank our chamber member, Fred DiFilippo from Mighty Young's Appliances, for donating a grand prize giveaway of a Weber Travel Grill that will be given away that evening. And the final reminder that I have as part of this is to shop local and shop Howell.
Thank you. You want to say the date and time again, so they hear it again?
November 10th from 4 to 8 p.m. At the former space of Bed Bath & Beyond in the Aldrich Plaza Shopping Center.
Thank you.
Got it.
Thank you.
Mayor, may I?
Please.
And I admire the Chamber's zeal in getting a free place to have this take place, the expo and the job fair. You're a tenacious group, and Howell Township certainly is very happy to have you.
Yeah, 2 years ago, it was a great event. It was at the old Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble.
It's an awesome event, so looking forward to it.
Barbara Dixell?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Barbara Dixell, resident, Howell Township. Inasmuch as the fountains is a very important thing for Howell Township, I am asking this governing body tonight to take a separate vote on R316. Separate it out from your agenda and take a separate vote. It's that important. It's that important to Howell. It's gonna create a lot of controversy, and I would like very much for this to be not part of the regular yeah all the way down the line. I think it needs to be separated out and voted on it separately with any other discussion that takes place. I'm going to make a citizen's motion from the floor that none of you are going to be happy with, but I'm going to make it anyway. All of you are legislators. You have been elected to govern for the citizens of this town. You've all done your jobs very, very well. I commend you all. You do a heartfelt job. I'm going to make a citizen's motion from the floor. Unfortunately, one of you is hardly ever here, especially when it comes to important votes. It is my opinion that Councilwoman Richmond be asked to resign from the Howell Township Council and to appoint a member of a governing body that will be here every meeting to act on behalf of the citizens of this town and for the health, welfare, and safety of everybody. And it's enough of seeing an empty chair here all the time.
Ms. Dixell, she was not here for medical reasons, and she stated that in her, I believe it was 2 meetings ago, so.
Thank you very much. I have,
Thank you, Barbara.
there's plenty of meetings. She's not been here, period, and not for medical reasons. I'm sorry she's not well, but I think Councilman Richmond needs to make up her mind. Does she want to serve the citizens of this town or not? Thank you.
I can assure you that she's met all the guidelines of our bylaws and the state statutes in her attendance. She did have back surgery. She announced this a couple of months ago. She still hasn't been cleared by her physician. So I think everyone can understand that you must obey your doctor's orders. But thank you.
Sorry to hear that.
Steve Morlino?
Good evening, Mayor and council members.
Good evening.
I wanted to speak this evening in regard to MGD and the fountains. And, you know, I was disturbed a couple weeks ago when I heard you were being pressured to do whether it was 100 units or 400 units and the height of the building, et cetera, et cetera. So I did some homework. My main issue here is I want to make sure what we build is acceptable to the community and it's not going to cost the community problems down the road. I went over to the site today, and I got to tell you, there's a lot of water on that site, okay? We didn't have that much rain, but there's a lot of water on that site. So let's talk about this program. So in 2003, there was a court settlement, okay? That was 18 years ago. Paragraph 5D of the settlement said that there was a finite amount of time to obtain the final subdivision and site plan approvals, okay? So in March of 2004, or the end of the 6-month cycle, that they had to complete the application and approvals, okay? The settlement clearly contemplated, if you read it, that the development would occur soon after the settlement was reached and be done expeditiously. Instead, MGD waited nearly 13 years to obtain approvals. MGD filed a completed application and preliminary and final subdivision and site plan approvals May 23rd of 2016. The 6-month clock began on that date and would end on November 23rd of 2016. The first planning board hearing was July 21st, 2016. And I don't mean to give you all these dates. I'll give you a copy of this if you want. They did not avail themselves of 3 special hearings that the settlement alluded to that they could have, okay? They didn't avail themselves to that. The second hearing was on January 19th of 2017, okay? The 6-month clock had already expired. The court settlement stated that the waiver or any provision of the court settlement would only be effective if put into writing, okay? Per a response to my Oprah request to this town, there was no written record showing MGD granted an extension of time by the Township Council to obtain their final subdivision and site approvals beyond the 6 months of November 23rd, 2016, okay? The planning board process, the approval should have ended at that point. Second issue I want to bring up is the resolution dated April 20th stated in Condition 3, the deed recorded memorializing the subdivision shall specifically refer to resolution and the 2003 court settlement shall be recorded within 190 days. Failure to do so shall render the approval null and void. MGD recorded the deed on October 26, 2017, within the 190 days. They did not specifically refer to the 2003 court settlement in that document, nor did the deed include the agreement as an attachment, okay? The resolution of the planning board itself does not include the court settlement as an exhibit. The deed's recording was not done in compliance, okay, with Condition 3. Therefore, the 2017 approval should have been null and void. The township should have intervened after the clock expired November 23rd, 2016, because the deed was not properly recorded. The township was party to the settlement, not the planning board. That's a critical point. The township was part and parcel to the settlement, not the planning board. So only the township could intervene regarding compliance with the settlement. MGD filled a completed application for the site approvals on February 20 of 2018, 21 months after filing the application for preliminary and final major subdivision and site plan approvals, which were in May of 2016. They were granted final approval March 15, 2018. The resolution was adopted April 19, 2018. The court settlement from 2003 was not included as an exhibit in either of those approvals. There was a one-year extension requested by MGD of the final site plan approval of the planning board's April 9th, 2020. Okay, 3 months later, MGD withdrew that request on July 16th, 2020, when they availed themselves of an extension under the Permit Extension Act. 8 months later, MGD transferred the deed to Bright Horizons on March 31st, 2021. 49 days later, they flipped the property to Bright Horizons, transferred the deed to 6461 Route 9 Howell LLC on May 19th. Neither of the deeds specifically refer to the 2003 court settlement, which expressly states the development of a 100 age-restricted units required dedication of property to the township.
Mr. Morlino, you're at your 5 minutes.
I would like to ask for an extension, please. I have 2 more pages. I'll be as brief as I can. I think it's critical that we know the issues here.
I have no issue.
Sir, just before we do that, Mr. Clark, I want to ask you a couple of questions after this. There's a lot here to unpack.
I have specific questions as well.
Can we just kind of,
Sure.
okay.
I would say just complete, and then when Mr. Morlino is completed, then we could ask Mr. Clark, no?
That's fine, that's fine.
Thank you.
So information from the New Jersey DEP regarding the Permit Extension Act reveals the deeds transferring the property had to be recorded with the DEP in order for the permit extension to remain valid, okay? And I listed the Permit Extension Act here. I won't read that to you. As of October 19th, the DEP records from the records of custodian that a decision on the extension has not been made as of the day land use reported having responsive records, okay? My inquiry indicates that the permit extension is pending, okay? Does the town have this information confirming that the extension was actually granted? That's a question you need to get answered from somebody. In 2003, the settlement specifically said the spirit of the settlement was that the township would receive land prior to development. I heard at the last meeting that did not take place. It's in the best interest of the township to ensure that there are no environmental issues on that site. I looked at the site today, I see water, I couldn't walk the site, okay, but has there been any dumping over the years? What's happened in the last 20 years at that site? I don't know. Someone should certainly look at a stage 1 environmental assessment of the property and see what's going on that property just for our own benefit, so we don't inherit a piece of property that's going to cost taxpayers a fortune to clean up. So there's another issue that comes to mind that is of concern. So there's been a lawsuit filed regarding an OPRA request that was made regarding the developer's agreement and whether or not it's a public document. I don't believe that's been answered yet, so it behooves this council to probably wait until the court rules one way or the other as to what the outcome of that particular lawsuit is. Is that a public document or is it not? Okay? So in conclusion, I have to say that it appears to me that the planning board approvals were null and void because of the timeliness and the filing of all this stuff. That's my opinion. I'm not an attorney, but I think you ought to look at this. There's lots of questions here. Okay, the settlement between MGD and the township, the planning board has no jurisdiction in that settlement. Okay, they cannot grant waivers or extensions. Okay, that has to be done through this council. Okay, from my viewpoint, the town took no action to determine if the approvals were timely obtained in compliance with the settlement. I urge this council, okay, to direct their legal counsel or outside counsel, through the manager, of course, to review all of the parameters of the developer's agreement, okay, because as a layman, I find many disparities with this case. The new LLC wants to build on the property. They should go back to the planning board and get new approvals for what they want to do, consistent with current zoning and planning laws and regulations in this township. It's only fair and right, okay? I bring to your attention, any of you that were here for any length of time, Moore's Landing development. So the Moore's Landing development, okay, was approved by everybody. Planning board, zoning board, township council, all engineers, architects, DEP, everybody else, okay? It was constructed. Shortly after that, it began flooding. People's homes were flooding, okay? FEMA had to step in and purchase properties, okay? Because all of the approvals that were allegedly done and all the homework that was done proved to be faulty. I don't want to see that happen in this case. There's a lot of people in the surrounding area around this development. The land is wet. You could go there today. It is wet, and I tell you, wet. So you need to make sure what is approved to be built is approved properly, and that the drainage is a major consideration, okay? Look at Air Cheryl versus the planning board in your zoning, in your Cox manual, and check out what was required for wetlands development and some of the issues, okay? It's a very interesting case, and I think it's applicable here. So again, I leave the council with the thought that I urge you that this matter depends on further investigation before you make a decision, and I hope you'll do your homework diligence to make sure that that happens. Thank you very much for the extension of time.
Would you please repeat the name of that case?
El Share versus Planning Board. I can email you the exact
Okay.
citation of it
Thank
from
you.
the Cox manual.
Should we do this now, Mr. Clark?
Yes, I was going to ask, Mr. Clark, should we ask the questions now?
You can do it whenever you want. The developer's attorney is here as well. I mean, if he has specific answers to anything that you
So-
might have.
So, may I just say something?
Sure.
If there is litigation currently, I do not believe that we as council should be having a discussion, because whatever gets discussed today can be used against us.
Well,
in the
I'll
future.
address
Yeah.
that quickly. That's an Oprah case, and it's whether or not the draft document is a public document under Oprah. It has nothing to do with approval of the development agreement. In fact, if you approve the development agreement tonight, we would release it to the public. So, and that would essentially end that case, but for some sort of tangential issues. So I don't think that litigation has any bearing whatsoever on the vote on the
Mr.
approval of
Clark.
the development agreement.
I'm sorry, Mr. Clark, Kathy Novick said that she was going to file papers. Were those papers in fact filed?
Yeah, they were, and we received some via email, and I think she did actually properly serve the clerk with them ultimately.
It's up to you.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I was just going to say what Mr. Clark said. These are two completely separate issues. One has to do with whether it's appropriate to release a document under Oprah, and the other is a developer's agreement. They're two completely separate.
I would disagree. The developers agreement is exactly what we're voting on.
John,
and
trust me on this one. These are two completely separate and distinct issues.
If
I'm
we
100% confident on that one.
lose in court, then what? We denied the public to see this if it's a public record, we
It's
deny it.
protected under Oprah.
Right,
That's the whole
our
issue.
position.
whether
And
it's-
if we lose that case, which is fair enough, then we'll have a court order telling us release the draft. That's all.
And then we denied the public for seeing that draft prior, so.
But that's,
That's
our
the law.
position is that's appropriate under Oprah.
Okay, that's your position, okay, I get it.
Deputy Mayor.
do we
If you want, you can take a straw poll right this second and decide as a council to release the draft document. Nothing's prohibiting that.
I would think that unwise if we are
I
being
think it's a
given
terrible idea, but
legal
council
advice
sets the
not to.
policy. So if somebody wants to make the motion, you get a second, you can take a vote right now.
Well, before we do that, why don't we go through, Mayor, it's up to you. Do you want to go through the questions, address Mr. Morlino's issues, or would you rather hear from the public and then go back to?
Well, this is two ways to look at it. If you remember your questions, then yes, we can do it at the end. I think that would be perfectly fine.
Okay.
There's only 4 more people.
Okay, that's fine. We'll go through the public. Yeah.
Okay. Dan Cartalicchio, I'm sorry if I mispronounced.
Cartalicchio, Mayor.
Cartalicchio, I was there.
Almost. Good evening, everybody. I am Dan
Good evening.
Cartalicchio. I am a resident of Howell Township, and I am also here to talk about the Fountains project. I would actually like to see the document that we're discussing, and I want to discuss the email that I received after it was Oprah'd, and it was shared with me. On October 12th at 10 p.m., Mayor Berger emailed the township clerk and directed him to shred the Fountains developer agreement that was signed. I have the email right here. Hopefully I can read it here. Hold on 1 second, please. Please shred the document I have signed since that has been approved. I would like to change the process. I think I need glasses. Of signing
I
documents.
would like to change the process so that documents get signed post-approval. The process currently
Post-approval?
in place,
Correct.
currently in place is the documents get signed before it goes over to the other side, the council votes. This has been the process that
Okay.
has been in place for 20 years. The documents get signed by the mayor.
Has that been in place for 20 years?
As far as I know, some get signed ahead of time, some do not.
Okay. So the sitting mayor directed a township employee to shred a document. Yes or no?
To shred a document that was not approved. Yes. It was not approved,
But why would you do that?
because it was not approved.
Did you read the document, Mayor?
I read the document and it was not approved.
Okay, did you know what the document was?
It was not approved. You asked me a specific question, why I asked him to shred it, and I answered your question.
And I'm asking you another question. Did you read the document?
I answered your question.
Mayor, you signed the document. Did you read it?
I've already answered your question.
Mayor, 5 years ago, you said that you wanted to stop the development. And now we have you signing a document that indicates development.
You're barking up the wrong tree here. Let's be realistic. Stop. You know
Mayor,
what?
Mayor.
Can we have some
I think
order?
I'm done here, Mr.
Mayor.
Harris, because I don't know where this questioning is going, and I'm not, we're not in court here. So I answered your question.
Mayor, I would like to have the same
Well, if I may, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
You're under no obligation to answer any questions. This is public comment.
Mm-hmm.
The gentleman can say whatever he wants to say during his time period, but you have no obligation.
Thank you, sir.
Contrary, if she works for the township, she has the obligation to answer.
She has no obligation.
She has an obligation.
She has no
as a
obligation to
representative
respond.
of the township.
I would like to call order. If you can't, I would like you to leave.
You would like me to leave?
If you cannot control your mouth and come up here and talk through the microphone, yes, I would.
You know what? I came up here as a resident, and I'm being attacked. I'm asking some questions. I'm a resident.
I answered your question.
I'm asking some questions.
I answered your question.
And you know what? This is outrageous behavior.
Of course.
Absolutely terrible.
Yes, sir. I'm so
and I
sorry.
don't understand why that is.
I answered your question.
Okay, great. So we have litigation. Was this document shredded, yes or no?
No.
Okay. And we have litigation, but yet you did, in fact, ask them to shred it. So what is it? Are we going to stop the development? Are we doing the development? I'm confused. Who knew about this?
The
Did anybody
documents-
else?
The signature doesn't count. It didn't vote on, council did not vote on it. So
Listen,
stop.
whether the
Stop
council
it.
voted, she signed it?
Listen,
And it was after it voted down.
stop your tricks.
This is no tricks.
Yes, it is.
This is outrageous, the attack by
The attack
By-
on
by-
me, absolutely.
Can we
outrageous.
bring this meeting to
sitting
order,
council members.
please?
So my final comment is, Mayor, resign. Councilman Bonovich, resign. That's funny. Or maybe a petition started. Thank you very much.
Go right ahead. Thank you so much. Thank you
All
for
right.
your comments. Charles Moretti? Oh, I'm sorry. It looks like Charles. Remarkable.
James Moretti, a resident, Standish Drive, Howell, New Jersey. I hope I don't get the same treatment that my friend here just did. I am saddened and disgusted to learn that Mayor Berger tried to destroy a township contract that she signed. I find it
How
hard
do
to
you even have that
believe
email?
she did.
How did anybody get that email?
Because they Oprah the email.
Oh! Amazing.
Well,
That gets released right away, but the DA
So
does
everything
not.
gets Oprah.
everybody, other people in this township Oprah a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we're aware.
Yeah. And
One of our
know
councilwomen,
what she
actually.
was signing.
All right, can we just stop?
No.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry,
You'd
Mr.
like to
Moretti.
continue, Mr.
The
Moretti?
decorum of the chair needs to be corrected.
Correct.
Please be respectful.
Please, Councilwoman. Sir, please continue.
Thank you. If that was the case, does she not take time to read important materials and do her homework before she signs things? People who have something to hide shred documents. Mayor Berger's action in this instance are troubled, and I agree that she should in fact step down over this incident. As she was said, what else has she tried to destroy or cover up? This unfortunate scandal that places a black eye on Howell. And if I remember from my last council meeting, Mr. Harris said that he brought up a number of pieces of paper for you to sign, and you just signed them haphazardly.
That is incorrect, sir.
That is incorrect.
That is absolutely incorrect.
That's not, man, go and check. the
That is
newspaper.
absolutely incorrect. I don't sign anything haphazardly. You're disrespectful to me, I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your comment, I appreciate
You're
it.
being disrespectful to me.
Thank
I am
you
a
for your
resident.
comment, sir.
I am a resident.
So am
And
I.
you're disrespectful of me by telling me to shut up.
I didn't say shut up.
Mr. Harris,
I'm sorry, please.
Mr. Harris, can you tell Mr. Moretti what you said that night, that you said the mayor did not sign a document because it has not been ratified by the council? We didn't vote on it.
You did not vote on it.
All right, so the signature means nothing, correct?
So the signature is, well, the document is void because it was not
There you
approved by
go.
the governing body.
Thank
The
you.
mayor did not sign that document after the vote. Prior to the meeting, several documents were presented to the mayor that would require her signature, and she signed the document prior to the vote.
So she didn't even know what was going on and she signed it.
Yes, I did.
What do you call my case? I rest my case.
Oh, Jesus.
But in all fairness, the mayor had that document 2 meetings prior, and she did review it.
Done.
Pretty much, I shouldn't have given it to her to sign until after the vote had taken place.
Thank you.
Mr. Harris, I'm okay with this. Thank you, sir. Sue Fisher?
Sue Fisher, Friendship Road. I thought school board meetings were bad, but I think this tops the cake. It's embarrassing. Mayor Berger, I mean, we count on you to kind of set the tone. I know you might not like what people have to say, but you gotta keep some decorum for
People
everyone's sake.
shouldn't lie. They come up here and they're miscommenting.
But Mayor Berger, with
So
all due
I will
respect,
tell
we
you,
just
I
had
am
a
allowed to
resident-
defend my position as well as everyone here is able to defend theirs.
This is very different from school board meetings. School
Really?
board okay. I mean, we had a resident just ask Councilman.
Do you have a comment on the consent agenda?
I'm shocked that we're hearing the word
Do
shredded.
you have a comment on the consent agenda?
I'd like
That's
to-
what this is about at this point in
I
time.
have signed in to speak about fountains.
Please,
May I?
make your comment.
Okay, my comment is I'm shocked about hearing the word, asking someone to shred anything. And I believe anyone that is in your position or council people know that you have to go through the municipal agency's general records retention schedule. It's the Department of Treasury. It dictates how long records must be kept. But just hearing that, why are we even asking someone to shred documents? I don't understand what we're hiding. I've never heard this before here at a board meeting in Howell Township. I've been coming to multiple meetings for years. This is embarrassing.
Do you have a comment for the fountains, ma'am?
Yes.
Please.
I don't have a problem with the construction at all. I think an adult community is actually a great thing to add to our town for revenue. I think the location is a great location, actually, on the border. I'm really disgusted and
Thank you for your comment about the fountains. Herbert Seller?
That's me, I'm the loudmouth. My name is Herbert Seller. I reside at 276 Locust Avenue.
Thank you.
I also own 6697 Highway 9.
Thank you.
The property just north of where the new development is going in. There was a gentleman here earlier in the green that said he was out there and had checked that the land was wet. How many of you received a text this morning at 7 o'clock? We have a storm advisory from the National Weather Service that flooding is going all over. Yeah, we had rain, but I own the property next door. I went out there. There was no flooding on my property, and I looked next door, because I walk the property all the time. There was no flooding there, okay? The man that is building there, or trying to attempt to build, he's very neat, very courteous. I think him coming in with this community is an asset for the community. It brings in revenue, taxes. Now, sir, I know you were a little concerned of the building height. We have 100 Friendship Road here. It's 3 stories high. I think the maximum you can go on record, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Clark, would you quote me if I'm correct, is 4 stories high. Is that correct?
The current zone is 2 stories.
For this
This
zone.
is 2003 was grandfathered in as 4
What
stories.
about 100 Friendship Road? What is that? That's 3 stories.
Yeah,
The current zone is 2
so
stories.
The zoning for the fountains was established under the settlement agreement in 2003. That was the creation of the R5 zone. At the time, it allowed for 60 feet and 4 stories. It was changed to 45 feet and I think 2.5 stories or something like that. But there was discussion on the record at the planning board, multiple moments, that because of the nature of the application, it had been grandfathered in under the R5 zoning that existed previously.
Has the planning board approved what this gentleman wants to do?
Yes.
Okay. Why is there an issue here with the township now? You people had problems with people calling in, complaining they don't want it? I've seen on Facebook, we don't want the Orthodox here. And I've seen many of it. I've seen many of it.
Mr. Seller,
Yes, sir.
that zone is an R5 zone. In 2015, R5 is now 2 stories. All right, if this developer came to us with 2 stories, I would have no issue. I have an issue with setting a precedent of 4 stories in that area, right next to your property. I do.
Would you have a precedence with the tax revenue it would bring into the township? Would you? Yes or no?
I don't have
You
any,
like that revenue, it's good money, isn't it?
yes, so
Okay,
so
it
so
helps the
so are a lot
township.
of other things.
It helps the
Yes, I agree.
schools, okay? These people moving in here, they don't use your schools, they don't use your buses, but yet they contribute.
Once
I
again-
don't use your schools. I take my business here in Howell, I sell cancer wigs. You know what I do with my money? I donate it to the Howell PAL to keep your children off the
And
streets.
thank you, I'm well aware of that. I know your business.
Okay.
Thank you very much
I
for that,
think you
sir.
should be fair to this man. He's looking to do something good, okay? You're looking for elderly people. What if this was a building place, if he was building for vets? Would you people be
Like I
against it?
said, the R5 zone currently is 2 stories. If the developer came back to us with 2 stories, I'd be okay with it. And yes, would I be approved of the tax revenue? Absolutely. But it's 4 stories. That's not what I'm here for. You said stop the building? Yes, 4-story building. I want to stop that.
What do you need to do to go ahead and give this man an okay? What do you need to give him? The man's trying to develop something here that's for the
You know
good
what?
of the town.
You know what?
For the good of the town, sir.
If there was a full council here, I believe that we should vote on it. And you know how that would go if there was a full council. Right now, there's no full council here. Right now, there's not a full council here.
I requested that
What's that?
for a councilwoman to attend by phone or Teams. However,
Unfortunately, she was ill.
I've
Sorry.
been ill as well.
And a lot of the things that were prolonged, if the gentleman in the back didn't know, we have something that's going on in this country. It's called COVID. Try to get something done. I have a woman that works for me that's a year and a half ago has applied for a license to cut hair. Guess what? COVID. People that have COVID don't go to work. It's a lot of nonsense.
We're all aware of COVID, Mr. Seller. I would just say that this got tabled a couple times because out of courtesy for me, I was absent one meeting. Then it was extended. Now, the last meeting, Mayor Berger was absent, as well as Councilman Richmond. Now, we still don't have we tabled it every time because there was not a full council. If there was a full council, I'd say let's vote on it. But I say tonight, we have to table it. If we did that 4 times and we don't do it the 5th time, what are we doing? Everyone up here agreed for a full council. We still don't have it, Mr.
Is it
Seller.
fair to the man? He's got millions of dollars tied up in this thing. I mean, think about it. It's not
Well,
fair.
I'm not going to flip-flop on that. If there was a full council, we would vote tonight. And he'd probably get what he wants.
You can't pick up the phone and call Mrs. Richmond?
Mayor, if I can interject.
Sure.
Apparently, Councilwoman Richmond just texted Joe Clark, she can phone in. So he's checking with that,
So there you go.
Good luck. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Your name's not on the list.
If you like to add your name, please come up.
Sure, just come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
So before, I just called Councilwoman Richmond, and she will call in.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Joe DeBella. I live at 41 Lions Court. I had the privilege of serving as mayor for 4 years and was on the council for 2 prior. With respect to the fountains, I wasn't privy to a lot of the logistics and details, although I know the project started, I think, probably when the deputy mayor was in grammar school. That's how far back this goes, as many know. Probably before that. But as it relates to the fountains, what struck me, and I wanted to get up and speak, and hopefully I can get my time in and just get it out. From a procedural perspective, having served as mayor, no document would ever have been signed by me until it was acted on by the council. Because documents may only be signed after they have been...
Mr. DeBella, this is regarding
Mayor,
the
please.
consent agenda. Do you have a comment for the consent agenda,
I
sir?
have to tell you, would you please let me finish? I said this is about the fountains. I understand this is uncomfortable for you, but the members of the public
I am not
are-
uncomfortable at all. I'm sorry, sir, but you misinterpret who I am. I am not uncomfortable at all.
Okay. I just want to preserve my time because I have a feeling this is going to happen while I'm up here. So with respect to the fountains, okay, make it clear, I'm here to talk about the fountains, specifically with respect to an agreement. Having served as mayor, at no time should a mayor ever sign a document until such time as has been officially acted upon by the governing body, therefore empowering the only person who is entitled to sign it to actually sign it. So it strikes me as follows. There's a couple of potential scenarios. One is the document was in a pile and got signed without someone having done the appropriate due diligence to precisely understand what they were signing. Perhaps the most important responsibility that a mayor has is to officially authenticate documentation that binds the municipality, all of which should be read. There were many occasions when Bruce Davis, our former clerk, would come and give me something to sign. And I'd have questions and put a note on it. I don't understand. I'm not comfortable signing this. I want the council to see it again or talk about it. It seems as if, with respect to the fountains, members of the public want to see this developers agreement. It was signed before it was voted on. I am stunned. Forget the fact that it was asked to be shred. It was signed by the mayor before it was voted on. That, to me, is the most startling and damning fact. And we heard this evening from the clerk himself that it was signed before it was voted on. So these facts are not in dispute. They're not in dispute. It was signed before it was voted on. That should never have happened. And maybe it was signed out of pure ignorance because it wasn't taken the time to be read.
Excuse me, you can comment, but, could you be a little more professional, please? Because
Mayor, I have to tell you,
I
coming
really
from
have
you
to say,
tonight,
all you
that's
do-
laughable.
All you do is have negative
Coming from you
comments
tonight about
me,
professionalism.
Mr. DeBella.
If I
Mr.
may
DeBella,
finish my
please.
time.
Yes,
Please,
yes.
please.
I just want to finish.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay? When we have individuals, Jim Moretti, a veteran, a former law enforcement officer who comes up here and gets shouted down, I think that says a lot about the decorum and how things should be handled. So as it relates to the fountains, I think you're all in a much more difficult position because we heard from the clerk tonight that the document was signed before you voted on it. How is that
And-
possible?
and-
then, okay, so let's say it was given to the mayor.
No,
Do
he
you
gave it
just
to her.
blindly sign things without reading what they are and connecting the dots? Look,
Take
you,
the clerk up, don't take her up.
And Mr. DeBello, you're very familiar with this fountains, correct?
I am familiar with the Fountains Project. Now, I've been.
Because you
not
voted on it in
involved for some time.
2003. You
You're
voted
correct.
yes to it. I have it right here.
You're correct.
Okay, all right.
You're correct. And I hope you all take whatever the appropriate action is that you should take, okay? But the facts are clear. A document was signed before it was
Is
voted
it time
upon.
yet, Mr.
And then,
Harris?
see, here we go, counting time.
No.
Mr. Molino got an extension. I hope, in light of the interruptions, I will be granted a similar
May I
extension.
please have, I believe that the comment has been said over and over and over again, that I signed the document, so if there's nothing more, we all heard you, sir.
I'm glad you heard me.
We heard you. We heard you that I said to shred it, yes, and we heard you say. So I think that we're done. How many more times are you going to say it again?
I think there is a lack of understanding of how the public participation process works, Mayor. This is the part where all the people who pay the taxes get to come and speak. It's called public participation, where we get to participate in the meeting, and you don't get to bully people down like veterans or seniors or others, okay? So I want to finish my time. My point was, I think you're in even more legal danger because of the unthinkable behavior of the mayor. Now we know in public that it was signed before it was voted on, and at that point, after the fact that it was signed, then it got discovered. Here's what happens. Now the mayor realizes, uh-oh, I got a problem.
So
Let
sorry.
me ask it to be
Excuse
shred.
me, excuse
Let
me.
me ask
Do
it to be shred.
Do not assume what I said or what I thought, Mr. DeBella.
Giving my
That is
hypothesis.
that's inappropriate.
That's certainly your opinion. I'm giving my hypothesis of what happened. Because there would be no reason, my final point, there would be no reason to shred a document if it was irrelevant from a legal perspective. Why would we shred something that didn't have any legal value? You know why we shred it? Because we don't want the people to find out what happened. Okay? That's the reason why. And we can have the looks and the drama, Mayor. It's all great. Okay?
None of the drama's from you.
I'm glad it is, because it demonstrates the people of Howell, the person who is the mayor, is unfit for office, doesn't like taking feedback and criticism to the public, is disrespectful to seniors and veterans, and makes a mockery out of the town, signs documents that they shouldn't have signed because they didn't read it, and then covers it up by asking it to be shred. Shame on you, Mayor
So at
Berger.
this point,
appreciate
I
the
hope that
time.
you put
Thank
all of that on your blog, so I'll be able to read it later.
Nixon also shredded paperwork. Look what happened to him.
Listen, the clerk needs to resign. He's the one that gave it to her.
Please, excuse me. This process has been in place for as long as I have been mayor. There are documents that I sign when I read them, and if I cannot read them, I take them home. There is many a document that has not gotten back from meetings. So honestly, I am more than happy with the process that is currently in place. I trust Mr. Harris, and I am good with it. Yes, Joan?
Yeah, I just have a couple comments about the theater that we've had the benefit of seeing tonight. It all seems very orchestrated
Yeah.
and elaborate to try to gin up a controversy where there really shouldn't be any. I believe all you members of council receive emails with documents attached to them. You probably from time to time print them out, make notes on them. Do you hand those back to the clerk? Do you keep them? Are they a public record that you have to keep? I'm wondering why there's some inference that it has to be any different with the mayor. If she got a document and she put her signature on it, but it didn't get enacted, it's nothing. And to act like this is a big scandal, that she might have wanted something thrown away, that she mistakenly signed, that wasn't enacted, and that we're all supposed to be upset about this, is the most ridiculous thing. It's why people hate the political parties running at each other instead of trying to work together.
Well-
I mean, if there's a resolution of this development to happen, it's not going to happen if you get everyone hating each other over non-issues. You know, a document that was not enacted had a signature on it because it was in a pile of documents that routinely get signed. Please don't make a big deal out of this and just, get to the bottom of what's right and what's wrong about this developers agreement.
and just handle it professionally, everyone, instead of trying to create fake controversies.
So I will jump in on that note. It's, the issue I have with it, and I'm not going to go into too much depth, is that litigation has been threatened, and every document in the process is therefore evidential. So I have custody of the document now, and it's not going to be destroyed pending what happens with the developer's
Which you
agreement.
explained to me, Mr.
Right.
Clark, when I asked for that to happen.
So the important part is that because it was evidential, we can't destroy it. It hasn't been destroyed. I have it.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is John McCabe. I reside at 26 Taunton Drive. You know, I listened to former Mayor DeBella discuss, you know, how smoothly he ran his council meetings and his service, and I'm sure it went very smooth and he never had a problem, whether it was in Sayreville when he first became a public official or in Howell. So, you know, we should all put a spotlight on that and, you know, take our lesson from Joe DeBella on how well things are run, because I'm sure it was crystal clear and spotless.
Similar to college, the college experience?
Anyway, that's not what I'm saying. Going back to signing of the document, Mayor, that's a common practice in lots of municipalities. I know for a fact in the township of Woodbridge, because I was told by the clerk up there, they pre-sign all documents that they're going to vote on. And if it passes, it goes into law. If it doesn't, it gets discarded. You know, it gets put aside because it's not voted on by the council. It's not something that doesn't happen in tons of municipalities. And I'm sure if you go back through the record, maybe, I'm sure, Mr. DeBella, former mayor, that maybe I believe you. You didn't do it. You were doing that. But I think if we went back and checked with former Mayor Walsh and former Mayor Gatto, I'm sure it might be a different story. I mean, this didn't become new when Mayor Berger came in. And you think she's such a bad mayor, but yet she was reelected overwhelmingly in 2020. So the citizens of Howell believe in her and trust her. That's it. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. At this time, I would like a motion to close public comment. I'm sorry?
Oh, got one more.
Good evening, everyone. Mark Parisi, Two Castle Court. We're going to circle back to Marlena, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, we have.
Yes.
I feel like that got lost a little bit.
No, we were going to do that at the end for discussion.
It's like quite compelling. I'm just going to change subjects here for a second. I know that the township has posted for boards and committees, people that want to apply for them by November 15th. There's a lot of discussion about, you know, optimum people. You know, our residents don't seem to be happy with the level of service. And I know that years ago, definitely before I lived in town, there was I think it was called the Broadcast Media Advisory Committee, which was a committee of, I believe, 5 residents that would partake in the franchise renewal process. I remember Jerry Barron was on it, and he had provided me with a copy of a former franchise renewal agreement with Optimum. I believe it was back in 2016, 17. Oh no, it was like 2006 or 7, but it expired, I think, in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Manager?
That's correct, and we have not yet formed the, Mr. Barron's asked about it numerous times. We're not to that point yet that we're forming that committee.
Okay,
That'll
but-
probably be advertised separately.
Okay, so it is the intention of the township to put together that committee when, at the right time?
At the appropriate time, yes.
Okay, all right,
Yeah, that'll be
thank you.
separate, then this is the regular boards and commissions that we have functioning
Okay.
on an annual basis.
Where are we at in that franchise renewal process where that committee might be put back together?
Not really sure. I would have to check with our outside counsel that's handling it. I think right now they're trying to do damage control. In fact, they haven't started yet. They told us during the month of October, at some point, they're going to start rolling out fiber lines throughout the town, so hopefully that will help service. Additionally, we've had communications from Verizon. They're looking to expand their Fios service in town, but would not commit to a timeline. They fear that if they were to publish timeline, their competition would try and lock customers into contracts, so.
Okay. All right, well, I look forward to, when the.
Yeah, there'll be a separate
when the right time
announcement
comes
at that
out,
time.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. All right. Mr. Harris, all this discussion about these shredding documents, I heard you say at the last meeting, and you said again tonight, that it was really like you're owning this, you know what I mean? That it's like, you probably shouldn't have given that document to the mayor to sign on the presumption that it was going to be ratified when it wasn't, and so on and so forth. So I appreciate the fact that you have,
Mr.
spoken up
Parisi,
several times.
this is not a new process. This
No.
is not a new process.
I'm aware of that. That's been discussed at length,
I mean, I hear you, but it's not a new process.
Right, yeah.
The previous clerk, 2 clerks did the exact same process.
Okay, well, I mean, now I guess it's being politicized,
So
but that
that's
happens.
fine, of course.
I almost feel like this whole thing is a bit of a red herring, because what's more of a concern to me is the fact that Ms. Novak, who's sitting over here, requested a copy of the developers agreement when it was rejected back on September 14th. And if I recall, I was at that meeting that all 5 council members initially voted no on that developers agreement. And then when it was brought to a reconsideration, Mr. Russo and Ms. O'Donnell changed their vote. So I would like to know, again, I'm going to ask the question, you don't have to answer it, but why did council unanimously vote no on this developers agreement on September 14th?
I think I clarified why I voted no initially. It was clarification information.
Okay. All right, well, I mean, so here we are.
But you voted no and yes in the same meeting.
I voted no. I asked for a reconsideration vote. I got a second. We all voted again. It was official, and it was 3-2, or 2-3.
So reading the tea leaves here, I can see we're going to probably end up in litigation with the developer on this. So I would not speak too much about what motivated votes previously, what happened in terms of the signing of the document, et cetera. I don't really care one way or another about whether documents are signed ahead of time, as long as they're reviewed and understood and read. The shredding's an issue when litigation's threatened. That's evidence that's being destroyed potentially. Can't happen. In terms of the rest of it, I mean, that's where we are. So I don't think that, again, we should be talking too much about it. And in terms of the lawsuit, even though it had been voted down at the end of the meeting, Councilman Bonovich had said something to the effect about wanting to speak with the developer. It was put back on the agenda, and the developer showed up. So it was there for, the developer to answer questions in a subsequent vote, which hasn't yet happened. My position then, as a result, is that it's still a draft document and therefore exempt under Oprah.
Mr. Clark, has the developers agreement been changed at all since it was initially put on the agenda on September 14th?
Nope.
Okay, so it's the same developers agreement that's going to be voted on today is the same developers agreement that Ms. Novak requested?
Yep.
Okay. So I don't know if council's all aware, but back in November of 2019, this council voted on the Haystack Glen developers agreement that was made public prior to the council voting on it. So I'd like to know, why was the Haystack Glen developers agreement a public document prior to council voting on it, but the Fountains developers agreement is not?
Should not have been.
Should not have been? So it was a mistake?
Yes, draft documents are exempt under Oprah. They should not be included on an agenda.
Okay, so then I want to know why Mr. Harris had an email correspondence with another resident back in August in which he said that the developers agreement would be released whether it was approved or rejected after the September 14th meeting.
I don't think that's accurate. I think that may be what he said, but I don't think that's accurate under the law. And since it wasn't released, like I said, my position is it's exempt, and that's what we're going to litigate.
Okay, well, my concern is that there's been some inconsistencies in the past about how these developers agreement are made public or not prior to council voting on it, and I would contend that council should table this matter and allow this document to be made public so that the residents have the right to see it, and that this is done out in the open and in the sunshine, so that we can ask questions as to what are the terms of this developers agreement.
Sure, they can vote on it right now. All it takes is a motion and a second and a vote, and the draft document can be released.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Parisi, if I can just clarify, as the clerk, I cannot release that document. It doesn't preclude any member of the governing body or anyone else, but I cannot. So
Well, aren't you the custodian of records?
Absolutely. And there are exemptions to what documents can and cannot be released.
So then why would you represent to another resident that it would be released even if it were rejected?
I would have to review that email to understand the full context of that. I don't know.
I think in
What the
fairness to
exchange
Mr.
was?
Harris, it hasn't been rejected. As I said, Councilman Bonovich indicated that he wanted to speak with the developer. The developer was invited in. The same agreement was put on the agenda again, and it's been tabled numerous times since. So I don't think there's been a final vote on it post talking to the developer. So again, even if Mr. Harris said it would be released after that vote, it's still a draft document because there's been no final vote on it.
Yeah, but
So you can say whatever you want. It's not going to the public unless there's a motion and a second tonight.
said that it's the same agreement that was rejected is the same agreement that's on the agenda tonight. So if the rejected document was supposed to be released and they're taking it up again tonight, then the residents would have had a right to see the rejected document.
No, absolutely not. It's still a draft. I mean, I can say it different ways. It's a draft, it's not complete, it's not ratified, it's up for a vote tonight.
Right.
It's not public.
The September 14th document that was voted down is not, you're saying is not a public record when it's voted down?
Correct. It's the same document that is up for a vote tonight. It is still in draft form. It has still not received a final up or down vote from council. If it gets an up or down vote tonight, then yeah, we'll take a look and see whether or not it should be released. I don't care what the email said.
Okay. Judge Lisa Thornton is going to decide whether or not the rejected developers agreement was a public document after it was voted down on September 14th, and I think that we should wait to see what the judge says because I think the residents have a right to see that document before it's voted on tonight.
I don't think that litigation has any bearing on this, but, you know, it's up to council. Whatever the policy you guys want to set is, you set it. Again, you want to release it tonight? Somebody make the motion, somebody make the second.
At this point. Are you coming up to speak? Yeah. Your name?
My name is Felicia Kugler. I live at 57 Pickett Place. I'm in a course at Rutgers University through Brookdale's campus, Public Administration, American Bureaucracy. So we kind of go through agendas all the time. So we were required to come to a town council meeting. So this was a very interesting
picked a great one,
I know.
huh?
I was like, wow, this is interesting. So I was reviewing.
Change your major.
I was reviewing the agenda, and I just had a question. What will the senior services grant be used for? That was just one thing that stuck out in my
That's a
mind.
very good question.
Mr. Gein?
I'm trying to remember, I apologize. This was an expansion of the previous grant that we get from the county every year, and it's a small amount that it's increased, the $2,000.
What number is that?
This just gets used for their regular operations. They assist with food drives, hosting events, sponsoring lecture series for senior citizens, provide different assistance programs with state and federal programs, things like that. So
Yeah,
it'll just be used for the general pool.
Mr.
for
Gagin,
that.
can you provide an email, like a write-up? I'm sorry, what's your name?
Felicia?
Felicia, for Felicia to give to her, yeah.
If you want, I'll give you my card. You can email me with specific questions.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ms. Kugler, also, when you look at the agenda online, there's links that would take you all to all that backup information, so that you would have that as soon as you look at that agenda on the computer.
Thank you so much.
Just in the future,
All
should
right,
you need it
thank you.
quickly.
Okay. May I have a motion to close the public comment section of the meeting?
I'll make a motion to close public.
May I have a second?
Mayor, before we do that, Mr. Clark, the developer's attorney, is here. I would imagine.
Is he still here? Oh, yeah, I see
Can
him.
we still close public first? and
I
then
mean,
have-
Could we close public and still ask questions?
No.
Okay.
I withdraw my motion.
So questions have to be asked right now with regard to the
I really don't think we should get into the nuts and bolts of attorney-client type advice, truthfully.
Counsel, please
Okay.
answer Maureen's questions before you do your business.
I agree.
I will note that there is a planning board approval of this, and that's 3 years ago, and the time for appealing from that's long since passed. If there are issues that you have with it, I take it up at the time of the vote. But again, I don't really want to get into a lot of what was discussed. Most of it has not gone unnoticed. So
I do have one question. Maybe Matt Howard, you would know this. Mr. Molino did bring up the deed transferring, and he said that in that planning board resolution that if the agreement, the 2003 agreement was not attached to the deed, that everything's null and void.
I'll have to take a look into that. It's the first I'm hearing of that question, so I'm not
Me
prepared
too.
to answer anything about it.
So, I will take a motion to close the public comment section of the meeting.
Motion to close public portion.
May I have a second?
Second.
May I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Make the motion to move resolutions 21-324 through resolution 21-347.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Councilman Bonovich, seconded by Councilwoman O'Donnell. Is there any further discussion? Councilman Bonovich?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Russo?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
The consent agenda has been approved.
The next resolution, 21-316, it was previously tabled. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
I'd like to make the motion to table resolution R-21-13 based on the Oprah litigation and also the fact that I just asked Matt Howard about the 2003 agreement being attached to the deed. If it's null and void, I don't think we should vote on it tonight till I have that.
I would have to step down and second it.
hold on, I just dialed in Councilwoman Richmond. So Councilman Bonovich is making a well, why don't you say it so that she can hear it? I don't want to misspeak.
Motion to table R-21-13 based on litigation, if this is a public document, the DA, and also that came to light in the public question discussion that the agreement is not attached to the deed, which would make this application null and void. Mr. Howard did not have that information for us tonight.
So Mr. Harris has asked me to have her call in on the official town line.
Right.
I don't know what this number is.
Just call her cell phone. Call her. Just call her.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
just.
we're going to call yourself from
Yeah.
phone, okay?
So just,
Okay, bye.
so just so you understand, part of the requirement for a call-in is that everyone in the room needs to be able to hear her, and she needs to be able to hear everyone as well, and I don't think that would be accomplished on Mr. Clark's cell phone.
Okay.
Put the speaker to the telephone.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, can you hear us?
I can.
Okay. And let me put the microphone down.
And let's just state for the record that Councilwoman Richmond is joining us by teleconference.
I'm having a hard time hearing him.
We can hear you.
You're joining us by teleconference, he said.
Okay.
So Councilman Bonovich made a motion to table Resolution 21 I think it's 316, which is the Fountains Resolution, because of the Oprah litigation that was filed involving the draft developers agreement, and because there's a question that he had of Mr. Howard that Mr. Howard needs to research.
Okay, was there a second? Did the mayor second that?
Well, I had to step down and second, yes.
You don't have to step down.
Well,
You
I
can.
stepped down.
So the motion to table was moved by Councilman Bonovich, seconded by Mayor Berger. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, I have something to say, Mr. Harris.
Go ahead.
Mayor and Mr. Bonovich, you wanted a full council so you can vote. Why table it? I'm here. It's a full council. Let's vote.
If the litigation and if Mr. Howard had that question for us tonight, I believe I would vote on it, but Mr. Howard did not have that information to let us know if this agreement is null and void or not.
I'm having a hard time hearing him. Sorry, Mr. Bonovich.
Well, in fairness to Mr. Howard, that's a legal question. And so I'm not going to answer it in public other than to say some things are ministerial acts and the court will excuse them. And so it may not be as strong a defense as some people may think.
So, Mr. Clark, how are we proceeding?
Well, there's a motion and a second to table it, so take a vote on that motion, and then we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
Right. So you ready for the vote?
Well, is there still time to discuss? This is still the time to discuss, but
There is.
Okay. Mr. Clark, can you give a brief synopsis of what you did? I know, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I know you said it, like, I think this is the third or fourth meeting now. Just your position on, if you would, if it's appropriate.
I'm not going to go into too much detail about, like, my legal position on it, but we have, the earliest documents we found in the file in this matter go back to 1987. And I know you and Mr. Howard, not to age both, you were babies then. So this is an old file. There was an agreement in 1989 where the developer had permission to build 404 units. There was subsequently a repetition to remove Fountains, MGD Holdings. They were in our COA plan at the time, to remove them from that plan and substitute in another developer. That led to the 2003 settlement. There was a plan on the table at that time from MGD Holdings that included 304 units, and what they proposed under the 2003 agreement was, I think it was 96 or 100 age-restricted units, and then 26 residential units that would have been on what I'll call the back parcel. That was on some of the developable land that exists there. There was also part of the agreement was to carve out the wetlands and give it to the town. Fast forward 15 years or 12 years, in 2015, they file a subsequent application to develop. I'll note for the record, at that time there was R5 zoning that permitted 60 feet in height and 4 stories. That changed prior to the submission of their application. I think that was in early 2016. Ultimately, in 2018, they received approval for what they had, which was 100 age-restricted units. They carved out the 26 residential units, and on the record in 2018, they represented that they would donate 43.8 acres to the township, which included the 10 or 11 developable acres in back. So there was some discussion on the record as to whether or not they were subject to the new R5 zoning or the old. It was resolved at the planning board by deciding that they were grandfathered in under the old, which allowed for the greater number of stories and the extra height. So they received approval for that plan. That's what they have approval for. That's what they're coming forward with now to develop. It's 100 age-restricted units total on the front parcel. It's a donation of 43 point something acres on the back parcel. We take 10 plus developable acres out of circulation by accepting that. So that's where we are right now. The developers agreement talks about certain things. I know Councilman Bonovich had wanted the timing to be adjusted on the donation. We can do that. We typically don't accept the donations until after the performance guarantee is released. It keeps the parcels on the tax roll for as long as possible. And it also keeps liability on the developer, should a tree fall, anything like that. We don't typically assume that until well into the development phase. We can take it now if the council wants to set that as the policy. I would recommend against it, but that's where we stand right now.
So, Mr. Clark, you're saying that we should not follow the 2003 agreement by taking the land prior to permits?
We don't have to. You can waive that.
Is
You have the
there a waiver?
ability as council. And that would be my recommendation, yes. And I'll tell you why. It keeps it on the tax rolls, and it keeps the liability on the developer.
Like you said, it would be like it would be like.
It's like $3,000 a year.
So
It's not a-
$10,000.
It's not a huge amount. It's the liability that's more important.
But the agreement stated that we were to take the land prior, the land is to be donated prior to any permits or grants.
Sure. You can waive it if you want, but yeah.
Mr. Clark, a couple other things. A resident mentioned that they should come back before either the council, I don't remember, the council or the planning board. Okay. And I guess operate under the new zoning laws. Now, I think you mentioned in a prior meeting that they are grandfathered in to, I believe it's the 2003 zoning rules. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
the R5.
The R5.
So what happens is, under the 2003 agreement, and there's a lot of suppositions here, right? There's a lot of contingencies. Let's assume we go to court, let's assume they decide they want to build the current plan, and that's all that they're seeking. That's one thing. Let's assume they want to take back the donation and put the 26 residentials on there. It's a hot housing market. That's another thing. Third thing is they could go back to the 400 and something units on all of the parcels. And that would be without regard to the zoning. They wouldn't have to give us any affordables. That's baked into the agreement at that point. So, you know, I don't decide what their remedy's going to be. It's up to them to plead it and seek it, and then it's up to the court to grant it or not. I'll defend it,
Right,
but
so they're grandfathered in, so it's not a matter of just coming back to the council or the planning or zoning board and operating under the new law. They are grandfathered in. Secondly, the age-restricted component. I mean, I speak to seniors a lot. I live across from, I live in Moore's Landing, so I know about the Moore's Landing issues, across from the villages. And senior housing is a big issue. Would we lose the age-restricted component if this does not get voted on, or it gets voted down?
yeah, I don't recall, I don't think that the 404 units were age restricted, so yeah.
So we have 100, as of now, 100 senior units.
This is the bird in the hand, 100 age-restricted units, and we get 43 something acres, 10 of which is developable. We get that out of circulation.
Okay.
We also, it's been assessed at approximately $18 million, so that goes on the tax rolls. So that's where we stand now. Otherwise, we run the risk of getting hundreds and hundreds of potentially non-age restricted units with the accompanying burden on the school system. And there you go.
Okay.
It's a policy decision.
So that's your interpretation. So we have an LOI on the buildable portion from 2016. We don't have a DEP LOI for the donated land we don't have an update since 2003. So how can we be so sure what's buildable, not buildable, 200 units, 300 units, 100 units?
I'll tell you how, because Mr. Howard has a master's in environmental science, and one of the things he did a lot of was wetlands delineation, and he's the one who's done all the overlays, and the part of the wetlands that exists, it overlays perfectly with the developable area.
So why are we going 4 stories high if there's much more buildable over there? Why aren't we going 2 stories high?
So you want
I'm just asking a question.
No, so that would require us to refuse a donation of property, allow them to keep the developable land, and then they could spread it out over that. Is that what you're suggesting?
And then the developer would have to start from square one because they don't have an approved plan, correct?
They have an approved plan
No,
now.
but
So,
if they
yeah,
wanted to
I
change
think-
it.
Yeah, in theory, but they're not going to do that. I mean, no rational person is going to try and start from scratch, taking 100 units, rescinding the donation.
You
and
just
put them in-
answered my question. He will not start from scratch.
Will he? It's up to the developer. So, I mean, it depends on what you guys want to do. It's going to be solely up to the developer, it's going to be up to the court, and we're going to take our chances. We could end up with 400 non-age restricted units. So there you go. And if that's what you guys want, then, you know, vote it down, and we'll end up in litigation, and we'll see where it goes.
I would like to vote on this.
In an effort to get the council to a vote, I think I do have some information regarding your question. I would like to run it past legal counsel, so if I have 5 or 10 minutes and a break, maybe.
I'll make a motion for a 5-minute recess.
Second.
Sure. You have a table, you have a motion on the table.
Withdraw your motion.
You can withdraw it, or we can...
I'll withdraw the motion to table. I'll let Matt Howard have that time.
Motion is withdrawn.
Thank you. Did I go to the bathroom?
And we will be taking a recess,
Yes, 5 minutes.
5
please.
minutes. And the meeting is back in session at 8:48 PM.
All right, then I will get...
Hello?
Hi, we're calling about your car's extended warranty.
Councilwoman Richmond?
Yes.
Hi, we're calling you back.
Okay, I'm here. Thanks.
That's good. We have an extended warranty if you're interested in it.
Sorry, I'm not available.
Okay.
So we're back on the record. There was a question that was asked. I have a quick answer to it. So it had to do with whether or not the application was null and void. So let me read the exact language in the resolution because it's very important. The deed recorded memorializing this subdivision shall specifically refer to this resolution and the 2003 settlement agreement and shall be subject to the review and approval of the board engineer and board attorney, received both. The applicant shall record the subdivision plat within 190 days of the memorializing resolution that happened being adopted. Failure to do so shall render this approval null and void. So we looked at the deed and we looked at the language, and what the deed did was it attached this entire planning board resolution, all however many pages there is. Looks like there's 36 pages, so it attached the entire thing. So the whereas clauses in the front of the resolution specifically refer to the 2003 agreement in there. And by attaching the resolution itself, the deed obviously then refers to it. So I don't think that it's null and void as a result of whatever had happened. I think the filing as is, which was approved by the engineer and attorney at the time, is fine.
At this point, though, are we not going to answer any of the questions of Mr. Merlino?
That was one of them.
Well, I think that
was one of them. That
other
was probably the main one.
Yeah.
I think there was one about the 6-month filing that I think we've agreed that happened.
Also, the environmental, I think, was addressed as well, correct?
The wetlands?
Yeah, the wetlands.
Yeah, that's, we've looked at it. The wetlands are what the wetlands are. There's LOIs on it that have since expired, but there's nothing showing that they've changed. And the most current, even the worst wetlands mapping software shows that the wetlands delineations are pretty much still the same. Like I said, Mr. Howard has a master's in environmental science and has done wetlands delineation, and I trust his opinion on it.
And the LOI that governs the front portion of the property is in good standing, and we got a request, copied on the request to the DP to extend that based on the statutory timeline a couple weeks ago. So that's in good standing.
All right.
So that's the 6 months for the Permit Extension Act? Is that what it?
The Permit Extension Act is ending shortly, so the applicant has filed to the DP for formal extension.
Was that extension granted?
I believe it was just filed a couple weeks ago.
So I think we've talked this to death.
His
Your
extension,
mic.
the extension that he has is not in default. It is in
No,
Good
it's still
standing.
under the Permit Extension Act, correct.
So how would you like to move forward?
Mayor, I would like to vote on this, and I'm ready to vote.
So
Okay.
you need to make a motion.
Councilwoman Richmond, can you hear everything?
Nope.
Okay.
I can only hear the professionals. Barely I can hear Mr. Howard, I can hear you, and I can hear Mr. Harris. Everybody else is a little muffled. So I mean, I can make out that Deputy Mayor Russo made a comment, and then I heard the mayor, but I don't really know what they said. So would you mind recapping for me?
Sure. The mayor had asked how to proceed, and our Deputy Mayor Russo said that he is ready to vote on it. So
Okay.
now
I think I second that. Yes.
So we'll need a motion and a second on the developer's agreement for approval.
Motion to approve R 21-316.
There's been a motion made, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
May I have a second?
I'll make a second.
Moved by Councilman, or Deputy Mayor Russo, seconded by Councilwoman O'Donnell. Are you ready for the vote?
No, I have something to say, Mr. Harris, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
This circus of a meeting is, I mean, all we hear is stop the development, let's stop it. So we're going to vote, and we're going to step up, and we're going to fight for the community. And if not, then I guess stop the development is just a cute bumper sticker that the Democrats want to keep putting on their campaign bumper sticker. So with that said, I'm ready to vote.
Ready for the roll call, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Councilman Bonovich?
No.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
No.
Councilwoman Richmond?
And like I said last time, and I'll say it this time, I'm going to vote with the Democrats because this is what they want, and I'm happy to oblige. I vote no.
Deputy Mayor Russo?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
No.
And Resolution 21-316 failed.
I'd like to open this portion. Will you please read the title of the first ordinance for public hearing and possible adoption?
Ordinance 21-29 is an ordinance of the Township of Howell, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, authorizing execution of a deed of easement and deed of dedication agreement in favor of the County of Monmouth. If anyone wishes to speak on this matter, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
I'd like to close this portion. May I have a motion?
Make the motion to pass ordinance 0-21-29.
To close the
to
public
close the
hearing.
Oh,
public
I'm
hearing.
sorry, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'll second the motion to close public.
Moved by Councilman Bonovich, seconded by Councilwoman O'Donnell. Councilman Bonovich?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Richmond?
I'm sorry, I barely heard the two votes before me.
Councilwoman O'Donnell voted yes to close the public hearing on ordinance 21-29.
Okay, yes.
Deputy Mayor Russo?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes, sir.
The public hearing on this ordinance is closed. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 21-29?
I'll make a motion to adopt 0-21-29.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman O'Donnell, seconded by Councilman Bonovich. Is there any further discussion? Ready for the vote? Councilman Bonovich?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Richmond?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Russo?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes, sir.
And ordinance number 21-29 has been adopted. Next for your consideration is ordinance 21-30, which is an ordinance of the Township of Howell, County of Monmouth, and State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 306 of the Township Code entitled Towing, If anyone wishes to speak to this matter, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close public?
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman O'Donnell, seconded by Councilman Bonovich. Councilman Bonovich?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Richmond? Is she still there?
Councilwoman Richmond?
Yes, yes.
Deputy Mayor Russo?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
And the public hearing is closed. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 21-30?
I'll make the motion to adopt 2130.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman O'Donnell, seconded by Councilman Bonovich. Is there any further discussion? Councilman Bonovich?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Richmond?
Yes,
Deputy Mayor Russo?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Ordinance number 21-30 has been adopted. Next for your consideration is ordinance 21-31, which is a capital ordinance providing for the acquisition of real property and appropriating $400,000 therefore, authorized in and by the Township of Howell in the County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey. If anyone wishes to speak to this subject, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Make the motion to close.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Councilman Bonovich, seconded by Councilwoman O'Donnell. Councilman Bonovich?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Richmond?
yes.
Deputy Mayor Russo?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 21-31?
I'll make the motion to adopt ordinance -21-31.
I'll second.
Moved by Councilman Bonovich, seconded by Councilwoman O'Donnell. Is there any further discussion? Councilman Bonovich?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Richmond?
Yes,
Deputy Mayor Berger? I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor Russo?
Got demoted. Yes.
And Mayor Berger?
Yes, sir.
My apologies. And ordinance number 21-31 has been adopted. There are no ordinances for introduction this evening.
So at this time, I would like to read the information. Howell is one of the 10 municipalities throughout Monmouth County hosting early voting, which will continue through October 31st. Early voting will take place, as we said earlier, at the Adelphia Fireplace, Station Number 2, 993 Highway 33. For more information, you can go on to the Monmouth County Board of Elections. And again, November 2nd is Election Day. The township municipal offices will be closed, and we encourage everybody to please get out and vote. The next regular scheduled meeting will take place on November 9th, 2021. We will have a discussion about cannabis at 6, and then the regular meeting at 7.
Before we close, Mayor, may I? I would like to ensure that never do we address shredding anything. I'd like to put something in writing, a rule, an ordinance, whatever it's going to take, that no one, regardless of their position on this council, has the authorization unilaterally to have any document destroyed.
I can do that. There's state statutes that govern document retention and records. There's plenty of rules of evidence that address the destruction of evidence, but I'll put together a memo and perhaps a proposed ordinance.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to close?
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great Halloween.